Hey there, and welcome to this video about debugging. This is just a short introductory video about the fundamentals about debugging, and we have a meme here in the beginning that being the detective in a crime movie where you are also the murderer. So you're looking for the suspect, but you might be the murderer in this case because you probably made the mistake or the error in your code. So how can we handle that? And yet another meme that usually we start with an error on in some programming language, or it could be anything. It could be in PHP, as in this case. It could also be C#, any language, Java, JavaScript. But we have an error, and how do we debug it? How do we handle it? And usually we get this, we get a message. Doesn't matter if it's PHP or another language. There will be some sort of stack trace or some error message that you will get from the language with an error description, undefined offset, and then also a location description that on line 28 in this file. And depending on the language, you might also get a stack trace with all the different function calls, code that has been run since it got to the error. So the first level of debugging usually is that you will try to output the app state. So we have all these commands, depending on the language. JavaScript, we have console log that will allow us to output something to the console. We also have var dump, and we also have echo in PHP, among others, that will, as it says, dump the contents of any variable, if it's an array or a variable of some sort. And then we have console write line, system out print line in Java and C#, but we're outputting the app state in this first level of debugging. And that can be okay to some extent, but we also have a second level of debugging or error handling that is called a debugging tool. So we have a lot of varieties of debugging tools. Now I've just listed up Xdebug, that is used for PHP. And there is also other debugging tools for other languages, of course. But we have a debugging tool, and this is from Visual Studio Code. And one of the crucial concepts in debugging is that we have the concept of a breakpoint. So breakpoint is basically a location in code where we stop the program execution in a controlled manner and inspect the state of the application. So we can decide that if we had this error before, line 28, then we can go to our file, our PHP file, if it is, then we can make a breakpoint at this line there, and then our debugging tool will stop the execution, the program execution, and then we can inspect the state to see what is wrong. And that can be really powerful at sometimes. So, fundamental concept, breakpoint. And if we take a look in Visual Studio Code here, we have the debugger started, and we have a couple of important things to note here is that we have our breakpoint, of course, that we set on line 21 here, that will allow us to stop the execution. This is in a for loop, so we can see the program state up here in the upper left. We can see the variables, the counting variable I, that it has the value of 0, and we can also see the text that has been previously run here. So we have a good view of the program state in a controlled manner. Then we also have this debug control panel that will allow us to jump to the next breakpoint and restart it and stop it if we want to do that. Yeah, I don't know if this is something that happens sometimes. But if you take a look at the debug control panel, you can see that we have different controls. We have the continue that will take us to the next breakpoint. We can also step over the breakpoint we are at, go to the next, and then we can step into if we want to go to, let's say we're calling a function and we want to go into that function to see what happens in there. Then we can click the step into, and if we are inside of a function, we just want to go out again to an upper level, then we can hit the step out and restart and stop. So that is the basic commands that are available in many debugging tools across programming languages. Alright, so fundamentals about debugging. Thanks for watching, and have fun. Bye bye.